Welcome back.
Hi.
Level Ground. This is episode 2 called Given All Before the Epic Fall.
Oh, yeah.
Part 1.
Right. Still in the garden.
We're still in that garden.
Well, I love it that you guys tune back in. We're going to have fun. This is we are still in the garden. We called that Iraq. We're still there. But one of the great things about this garden, it's so beautiful. We just want you to bask in this beauty because it's not for long. So we have to get all this creation was there to make everyone thrive. And the main thing, it was freely given. God freely gave it to them, and it's beautiful, peaceful, restful. Remember, it's all that good stuff. So the thing that I really wanted to get into, but you're probably going to say we can't right now.
Why? We still have time.
Well, you're right. You know how we are. The supernatural realm, right there. That whole angelic being and all the Father, God, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. But they don't mention Jesus. What's up with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you're right. There's no mention of Jesus in the book of Genesis there, but the Bible does give us several, as a matter of fact, passages that talk about Jesus being the creator of the garden, mankind, and angelic beings, and all things.
I like that. I mean, I do like all that. So I was thinking, if you could just give us a little evidence.
Ooh, she mentioned the word evidence. Well, that takes me back to when we were young. And you remember, I would have the evidence book when we were kids. And I would gather evidence on you, Sherry.
That is one of the stories we tell over and over. So I was having a cigarette at 13 maybe, with my girlfriend up in the woods.
It was a long time ago.
hiding, and just trying to smoke that cigarette. I really wanted a cigarette. And so we were up there puffing and doing all that good stuff and coughing, I'm sure. But I do remember it being a summer hot day, and that Walt immediately, after we had our cigarette butts, puts them in a book. Can you believe that? Puts them in a book, and then the matches, the cigarette butts, Kim was not happy about it either. Takes it home and tells Mom and says, because he wants to be the favorite, and tells Mom, hey, I have proof that Sherry was smoking up in the woods with her girlfriend, Kim, and I got it right here. And so then they do like this court of the kitchen. I'm sitting at the stool. He's questioning me. He brings out the book with this all taped in there, evidence. But you know what? My mom was so good to me. She just threatened me with my life, but that was it. Oh.
Yeah.
Those were the days.
Yeah. And what did you call me?
Oh, you were such a fake lawyer. Such a fake lawyer.
Well, there is power in evidence. And, well, listen, Miss Criminology major, you really like the evidence. You like the facts and nothing but the facts.
I think you sparked that in me.
Oh, I didn't think of it that way. But maybe. But, yeah, so speaking of the facts, as a matter of fact, let's find out more about how Jesus was in that garden. And we come to John.
Wait, I have to do my drum roll.
Oh. Okay.
Well, it's not really good.
It's official now. But don't quit your day job. Anyway, so let's take a look at John chapter 1 and verses 1 through 3. It says, in the beginning was the Word.
Yeah.
And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him. Yeah. And apart from him, nothing came into being that has come into being.
Right.
Goes on to say, according to Colossians chapter 1, 15 through 16, it says, he is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation.
That's right.
For by him all things were created, both in the heavens and on the earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities, all things have been created through him and for him. And this him is Jesus.
Oh, that was good. No, that was a good closing argument. You're like Harvey from Suits.
Ooh, I like Harvey most of the time, but sometimes...
I know, it's the ego. So, I want to ask you, what was this relationship that Adam and Eve had with God? Well, Adam and Eve and God.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, in episode 1, we talked about, and we introduced the idea of oneness.
Yeah.
And that oneness is it's a harmonious, unique bond. It's a special bond or relationship. And that existed between God and Adam and Eve.
Right.
Right there in that garden.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So they have this incredible bond that we talked about, the love and the oneness. And what that produced was a lot of peace and rest. And in fact, I always picture it, like you have to just picture these things with me. God bringing Eve to Adam, after she's so uniquely created from his rib, and he gently brings her, takes her hand. That's how I picture it. Just grabs her little hand and takes her to the one, Adam. And I think it's so cool to think of and even imagine, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, this is God doing his thing over and again with Adam. It reminds me of when he also brought the animals to Adam. He's constantly giving to Adam, especially these amazing creatures. And so he loves to give. And Adam was given he was given the job to name them.
Right.
So he keeps on giving to Adam, and now he's also giving Adam this beautiful woman, Eve.
Right.
And again, another wonderful, precious gift that he gives to Adam.
Right. It makes me think of Shel Silverstein's The Giving Tree. The Giving Tree, Sidewalk Never Ends, that we used to read that with the kids when they were younger. And it was beautiful, this particular story, because they literally, the tree keeps giving to the son, to the boy. The boy keeps taking till he's older in life. And there you see him as an old man, and what's left of the tree is a stump. And he's literally sitting on the stump. Beautiful, selfless love story. I love that.
No, that's a great example. Sure, I appreciate that. Yeah, that's the part of real love is it is selfless, So now here you have God giving to Adam for the benefit of Adam, right? He's given him the garden, the animals. He's given him the beautiful Eve. It's just constantly giving. He's the great giver,
right?
I
don't think people remember that or even notice that in the garden back then, that he was the giver.
Yeah, it is very. It's easy to read that part in Genesis and look at it like very surface or maybe even sterile. But I don't know. But you don't get this vibrance of maybe life that maybe it really does have. So anyway,
so true.
So God is amazing, and he just doesn't give just to give.
Yeah.
Everything has a purpose and a reason behind it. So he gives. This beautiful everything because he wisely interrelates creation. He's establishing these diverse relationships, that are mutually beneficial.
Right.
And he really is the source of a thriving, great life. And we know, like, if anything's out of whack, then things go south really quick. For example, like you have the moon that's orbiting around the Earth, and if that orbit is out of alignment in any way, shape, or form, it could cause some real challenges for us, right?
That's true. So true.
Yeah, I mean, the moon affects the tides.
Yeah.
And if it's out of whack, then the tides could flood areas, and it could be disastrous.
Oh, yeah, and there's been so much flooding lately, so much going on, so we get that. I do want to get back to Adam and Eve and God bringing Eve to Adam.
Yeah.
Remember, we get back to that point. He brings her gently, but it reminds me of like when the father is escorting the bride down the aisle, and she's so beautiful, and he's, you know, the groom is waiting. His heart is throbbing, and that's how I feel like Adam. His heart is throbbing, and he's like, oh my gosh, who is this? I don't even think he could have dreamed of her because he didn't have anything in existence back then except all the animals. So it must have been one of those wow moments. Look at her. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, sure. I agree. I mean, that reminds me of when I was waiting at the altar for my lovely bride, Bonnie.
She's so beautiful.
Yeah. And just to say, she wasn't escorted by her father. She was escorted by her grandfather because her father passed away. You know, when he was in his 50s. So, so we get it when things don't happen always in this fairy book type of setting. But she was beautiful. She was radiant. You know, she was radiating beauty in every way. And like you said, my heart was beating. You know, with love, joy, anticipation. You know, and also, it was really beautiful because I just knew in my heart that Bonnie was the right one for me.
Sure.
You know, I got married later in life, right?
Yeah, you're
I had to work out some things, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but we all also understand that stuff happens. So, for example, like our mom, she was divorced twice. Her father died, you know?
She was widowed.
Yeah, she was widowed. Absolutely.
A lot happens.
So, yeah. So
it's not this perfect utopia that we're painting the picture of.
Exactly. And we understand that you know, there's been a lot of struggles and challenges, especially regarding marriage, right? I was listening also, it's a couple of days after 9/11. Which is interesting because that's the anniversary of our father's death, 1962.
Right.
So I'm listening on the radio and I hear about this woman who was married to her husband in New York. They were 11 months married, and he was in one of the towers.
So many sad stories with that.
Yeah, and this is 22 years later. So our hearts go out for people with all different challenges and issues and struggles because it is not easy. But let's get back to the garden. You know, I also want to say that, you know, God gave this great gift of companionship to Adam, but it wasn't like Eve was his possession.
Right.
This is a person you're talking about.
Exactly.
This is not like an animal.
Right.
You know, this is a person that you're talking about.
Equal.
And, you know, yes. So this is, and God loves animals. That's why he created them. So, yeah. So,
perfect.
Thumbs up to all you animal lovers.
Yeah.
But
they were equal.
Yeah, but they were. Yeah, they were equal.
It was a perfect mate.
And that's exactly because God thought it out first.
Exactly.
You know, he thought it out first. So he gives Eve to Adam, and actually Adam to Eve too, you know.
Right.
And so they're perfect for each other, really. And there was no mistake in this.
Yeah. And there is something about that first look, right? When your soul, like you're seeing Adam and Eve and they're seeing each other, and the soul, the seat of their emotions, they're tying that together, and the physical attraction, tying that together, and their spiritual together, because God's right there, right? So it's pretty cool. I love that we're really pounding in. There was a cherished bond there. There was strength and power in that bond, and it ran deep.
And God was behind that. He wanted it that way.
That's exactly.
That's how he creates things.
Yes, for sure.
Know? So if we sound like we're a little bit overboard, I think sometimes when you look at Genesis and you look at the problems in this world, God gets the bum rap for it. He gets the blame. We get that. We understand. You know, but we want to try to take you back and say, well, let's take a look at his heart and the way he initially made everything. Right? So what do we see with this outrageous outpouring of love? How does this relate to wisdom?
Okay, so he has this, like you just said, he pours out this amazing love. It's selfless love. It is a love that is to grow and thrive. But he also, he wanted to have that shared amongst all of them. Adam and Eve, himself, all of it. And what's so beautiful, he says how we're going to do this practically is we're going to do it through wisdom. Wisdom plays an important role. You can't get away from it. And so I always, like when we first talked about this wisdom, I literally saw in my mind, it's like wisdom stands and shouts out for the sake of love, for the sake of love. So I've never really looked at it like that before, taking the two, wisdom and love, and putting them together, but they're powerful together. And with God, you can't separate them.
Yeah. And I like what you said before too, when we were talking about this. It's almost like wisdom is the application of love.
Yeah, that's what I was,
You know, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, and I never looked at it like that.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it, you know, so it's designed that they're not to be separate, but actually be used together. So we're going to take a look at more about this wisdom from above, and I want to refer back to more about this good kind of wisdom, which is spiritual, and we're going to look at James, another, as a matter of fact. Okay, don't hit the computer.
I just can't move my hands, that's why I'm not doing a good drum roll.
You got to get her some bongo drums or something. Anyway, so yeah, James 3, it says, but the wisdom from above is first of all pure.
I like that, pure.
It is also peace-loving.
Yes.
Gentle at all times.
Wow.
And willing to yield to others.
Wow. Yeah.
It is full of mercy and the fruit of good deeds. It shows no favoritism and is always sincere.
That's pretty pure. Always sincere. Wow. Well, that's why we're at Level Ground.
Absolutely.
You know, we all want the wisdom. We can all get it.
Yeah. I love what you said, Sherry, when it was like, this wisdom is calling out. In other words, you don't have to be a part of the inside crowd to get this wisdom.
Right.
It's calling out, it's shouting out.
Right.
You know, it's for everyone. It's not for just the inside crowd.
Exactly.
And it's combined with love. And as you see all those different aspects and characteristics of it, peace-loving, gentle, willing to yield to others, full of mercy. All these things are also in love, and the characteristics of love. And in the scriptures, it talks about love. And you'll see these things mentioned in conjunction with love. So that is a beautiful description of wisdom from above. And also this wisdom incorporates a greater understanding of truth. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's so necessary, right?
Yeah.
Truth, knowledge, understanding, coming together, working to apply it to your life with love in your heart. I mean, that is a powerful combination.
Right. It's funny, because now that we're older, that's what people sometimes will say, well, you've got the wisdom because you're old. Not that we're old. I mean, we're a little old. No, nobody can figure out my age. Take some mathematical calculations with my kids. They're all like, how old are you really, Mom? But it's the only thing I lie about, in case you want to know.
What happened to the truth?
but to you, what you're saying, I don't think people look at wisdom like that.
Yeah. So that's what we need to really think about, Sherry. I think if we let that sink in, you want to meditate on that. Wisdom and love combined, right? Powerful combination. Isn't that what should really make the world go around?
For sure. I mean, there's no better way. And I think that many do understand, like, the world wisdom, right? Which is good. I mean, AI is great in many ways. It's like anything else. It's got its good part, pros and cons. However, it's limited. It is limited. And that's where the spiritual realm of wisdom is, it's not limited, right? This godly wisdom, it doesn't have limits. It's brilliant. If you look at all the systems in the world, just your body, your physical, your brain, just take your brain, or look at the, how the cells in your skin, or, they're just, it's incredible. It takes a lot of wisdom, a lot of brilliance. And just think of all those systems, like the all of the systems that are out there, the galaxies, they're in place with a lot of wisdom and a lot of brilliance. And it's for us, right? It was given for us. But mainly, wisdom is, and I love this, it's to build healthy, strong relationships. It is that rock foundation. If you want to get strong relationships, especially the older you get, you do want them. You know, Mom used to say, if you, before you leave planet Earth, you have 5 solid, good friends, you're a wealthy woman. You're a wealthy man. And because you want those strong, quality relationships. And another type of spiritual wisdom from on high is the evil. Because it's evil in this spiritual realm, and it invades our systems today. And we have so many great systems, and you know, the Boy Scout system was an amazing all-American system, and now there's a documentary on there where I'll let you look it up on Netflix, of how there's been so many sexual predators that went there for young boys. It's a great system, and I believe that it is still has the respect today. But any good system, there's going to be an invasion of evil. And remember, that evil is still limited.
That's good. I'm glad you put that in perspective. Yeah. So as we look at this this love and wisdom, the scriptures talk about God being love, and talks about also Jesus being wisdom. And that's that, again, we're talking about God being one, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, that one true God together with these different persons. But this also is our just the 2 aspects, the way God designed us to work in harmony, right? They're to work together, not against each other. And it's really it's like they're part of one another.
Right. And what gives me hope is that Jesus did grow in wisdom and in stature, and that means we will continue to grow. We will continue to the day we die, grow in understanding and unraveling that, and continually it'll just speak of hope.
I like that, because you know, when you get older, isn't it nice to know that you can learn something new?
Yeah.
I haven't cornered the market on wisdom,
right?
You know,
of course,
because there's so much greater, there's so much more out there, you know, especially about God. You know, in each season of our life, and that's great. Yeah, I appreciate that, Sherry. So there's an incredible unity of this wisdom and love, as we've talked about, you know, and this was the way Adam and Eve were to go ahead and follow. You know. Yeah,
and what I love too is that they were royalty, and God treated them as royalty, but they were a different kind of royalty that we see today. They were on such a higher level, and given that royalty, they were to lead the way with this wisdom and this love, and seeing what the giver has given them and utilizing it well. I think that's really cool. It's a great perspective to see that I never had seen before in that garden.
Absolutely. You know, as co-regents, you know, they complemented one another, you know, and ideally that's the way marriages are, right? They're supposed to be, right? You kind of complement each other, but also united, and you have a diversity, and it's for the greater good, you know. And that's what I really like. And as co-regents, you know, again, we're here in this garden. God's just saying, hey, it's all at level ground.
Right.
It's all at level ground.
Yeah, exactly. And not one was more superior than the other. The man wasn't more superior because he was a man. I mean, you're telling this woman who I love how the rights of women, and I love that we're growing and we're becoming, the goal is equal, you know, equality. And God started it. He was like, hey, look, I'm the one that started. Co-regents, co-heirs. Equally, you've got your strengths, you got your strengths, go together, be this fabulous team. Not one is better than the other. Women and men. He was the original civil rights, pro-rights, right? I couldn't get over that when I read that.
Yeah, because it reinforces what we started out the very beginning is all people are valued.
Yes.
All people have equality, and all people have worth, and that's the point. True. So God gave them this kingdom, right? So they are to rule, and they're going to rule over it because it's their kingdom He gave them, and they're going to cultivate it, with this combination.
Right. And he also told them at that time there were no other humans on earth. He's like, get out there and multiply. It wasn't the religious, oh, we're only getting married to have children. No, it was, hey, I've given you all of this and I want it to thrive. I want everything to be used in a great manner. And so get out there and enjoy this paradise.
Yeah, can you imagine having children without any pain or worry?
No. I mean, I had my 2 kids and my daughter was 9 pounds and my son was 11 pounds and I had to have C-sections and it was quite an ordeal, and I don't think I would be able to have those children maybe 100 years ago. I probably wouldn't have lived. But there's something important about this that we'll later talk about. And that's why we're probably bringing out more so about having children, because we do get it. And you had 3 children.
Yeah, well, I didn't. My wife did.
Well,
Bonnie did. But that's a good point.
Did.
I got to witness it first up close and personal.
Yes.
And I will say that, I mean, it would look painful. But it was amazing because when my daughter was coming out, the umbilical cord was wrapped around her neck 3 times, and it really looked like a snake was trying to strangle her. It was crazy.
Wow.
But we had a great midwife. He just put his left hand in between the umbilical cord and her neck, and then the right hand, and just kind of like just loosened it very, very freely, and she was, so she was fine. But I take my hat off to women, because that whole pregnancy process, the birthing process, it's a lot. It's a lot, and also just like to say, our hearts go out to those that have had challenges with their pregnancies, or have couldn't have children or had miscarriages.
Yeah, and then that whole miscarriages, and I love Virgin River, and I'm always watching these things, and they really talk about the emotions around that and the woundedness. Yeah. And also they give hope for the,
That's great.
It is. But back to the garden. Back to, they didn't have any of this, right? They didn't worry. They didn't have the stress or even know of any type of pain for childbirth. But they were blessed, and God really truly did bless them. And one of the things he's telling them now is, fill the earth. And he also says a very interesting line, subdue it.
Yeah, sure. God is telling them something that jumped out at us when we were looking at this. And that Hebrew word, forgive me if I mispronounce it, is kabash.
Right.
And
kabashu, kabashu, kabashu. I love saying that word.
Do you know?
I hope I'm saying it right.
Do you know what that means?
I do now.
Okay, yeah. Well, it means to tread down and conquer.
That's why I say kabashu. But, I just changed the screen, and that word subdue is up there, and we'll talk about that in a second. But they were given the power and the authority in this beautiful paradise, right? And fully equipped. And now they're going to subdue. We said the name subdue. So why would they need to subdue? Why would they need this protection?
That's a great question, because it raises another question, like who needs to be subdued, or what needs to be subdued, and what was the threat?
Right. Because that's a big word there, and I can only think that maybe that's why God gave his one and only command. So we'll have to do a matter of fact. I can't do it any other way. But anyways, he says, now I got to look that up. In Genesis 2:16, it says, from any tree of the garden you may freely eat. But from the tree, and here it is, the tree of the knowledge, so don't forget this, the knowledge of good and evil, you shall not eat. For on that day that you eat from it, you will surely die.
So God is using this command actually to protect them from the potential of death.
Right.
Okay? So there's a deadly influence out there, and he does not want them to fall under it, but he wants them to learn how to tread upon it and conquer.
Right.
Right. And but but also one thing I like to mention is when we fall under this kind of an influence,
Evil.
this evil. Thank you.
Yeah.
We can have a tendency to form a critical and judgmental lifestyle.
And that's I'm so glad that you said that, because I know people have not, so they're, the old, Christianese way is, so death was brought in. It was bigger than that. It's just what you said, that judgmental, critical spirit, because now you had the knowledge of good and evil, and you had to discern.
That's right.
And I'm sure we'll get to that.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, and that's very important, because people have been critical and judgmental since that time with each other, with God, and with themselves.
I know.
It's crazy. But anyway, but can you imagine not even having to worry about any of that?
Yeah.
Because all that had not happened yet.
Yeah.
You're back in the garden before any of this, right?
Right.
And so you're not worried about that stuff. But also this can also bring about this evil, or this once they have fallen, that broken spirit and broken soul, and that's painful, that's suffering, and that's what is all at Level Ground.
Right. And when that occurs, that's when the trauma hits. That's when all the broken, shattered, they'll have to pick up all the pieces. But one thing that I wanted to say too about this subdue, getting back to that, is, they had this fugitive in Pennsylvania that was just wreaking havoc for 2 weeks. He escaped. He shown himself in cameras, the Ring cameras on doorsteps, and he stole a rifle. But you know what took him down? Was a canine. And that's why I have that up there. The police dog subdued crawling Pennsylvania fugitive. And I love that, because it just took a dog and one little bite, and that guy went down, and he's, been taken away. And that is for good, for justice. That's for righteousness. That is something that we're going to talk about, the difference between unrighteousness and righteousness. But just to give you a little preview, that's where we're at right now. There is this subduing. I mean, the Commanders did their first game, and it wasn't pretty. It was actually ugly, but they subdued. At the end of the day, they subdued. So I hope that we can end on this.
Absolutely.
The goodness of subduing.
And so we are, we're out of time now. And just want to let you know that this episode started with given all before the epic fall.
Right.
And, we have the best is yet to come with this.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Yep. They were fully equipped, and now we have to leave.
Yep. So we appreciate you. Thanks for joining us.
And remember, cheers to grace, because, grace is the way. And we always like to say, and where the new never gets old, here at Level Ground. Bye.
Bye.